I don't think there was an easy way through what we've been through with these high rates of inflation. But
who better to go through it with than the people that you had around you? Matt is our very first guest ever on Torch Talk. Why is he our first guest? Because he represents legacy growth in what it takes to evolve a family business. Plus, he's also our favorite client. You get the honor.
Is that true?
That's true.
Oh, okay.
You're the favorite client. What was your first job ever?
I was a go-kart attendant at Acres of Fun. So I was the person in the middle where when you crashed, I would uncrash your car and get everybody pointing in the right direction. We had one rule. It was sun's out, guns out. So if it was sunny out, they let us roll our sleeves up. And
they didn't give you cut-off shirts?
No, we weren't allowed to have cut-off shirts. So we had those yellow, hideous Acres of Fun T-shirts, and we would roll them up and get the little, you would wear an undershirt so you could roll it up and pinch it, and then you just had your guns out.
For those of you who do not know, Acres of Fun is like the kids' hotspot in Worcester, Ohio, close to our hometown, and it's not even possible it was open that long ago that you worked there in high school.
Oh yeah, no, when did that open? Because, gosh, that'd have been like 2000, 2001 when I worked there.
Okay, yeah. It was probably the late 90s, I'm guessing.
It didn't have the roller skating rink, but it had everything else. And yeah, that was my first job. I did other things like batting cages, but that was the highly sought after, because you roll your sleeves up and everybody on Friendsville Road would honk at you and everything. So it's a fun job.
Sounds like an annoying first job.
It was,
to pull all the people out,
honestly,
to spin out.
I had a lot of friends that were like dairy farmers, and I would take my job every day over what they had to do at their family farm. So no, I liked it.
All right. What's your favorite Cleveland sports moment?
There's a story that I always tell that's more funny than anything, but it was the Indians, well, the Guardians, I should say, were in the playoffs, and they were playing Boston in the divisional round, and we decided as a company to buy like a suite to go to the game for the first game of the playoffs and invite all of our staff. And my wife just so happened to be pregnant with our third, Maverick. And we had all our staff there. It was really exciting. My wife stayed home because she was something like 38 weeks. And, we're having fun partying before the game. And about 30 minutes before the first pitch, she called me and goes, I think I'm in labor. And her sister's a nurse. And so she's my sister's going to take me, but you got to come. So I look at my mom who's there, who, my dad owns the company with me. So my mom's at the game. I look at her and she goes, let's go. So we start running out of the stadium and we're running, and cut to getting to the hospital. By the time I got there, it was about an hour away. My wife was checking out of the hospital because we weren't having a baby. And also that game, the Indians hit 3 home runs back to back to back, which rarely happens. And all my staff is like, it was the greatest game we've ever been to. It was the loudest the stadium's been. The Guardians won. And then at the end of the game, a bunch of very famous old Guardians came into the suite and took pictures with everybody. And I missed.
You missed all
of it. And that, to me, encapsulates me as a true Cleveland sports fan, because even when it's good, I miss it. It's never like Cleveland never wins, and even when they do win, I miss it. So that makes me a Cleveland sports fan, because I should have been there. But and it was our third kid, so my mom the whole way home, because we found out that she wasn't in labor, was coaching me not to be so angry at my wife and making sure that we didn't get in a fight in a public hospital, because I knew I missed the game. And so that would be my most Cleveland sports fandom moment, of really exciting win, but also not being able to witness it.
My most memorable sports moment is being at the Browns game the night that the Steelers and the Browns got into the fight.
Oh, I was at that game too.
Yeah, I think we talked about that before. I was definitely at that game.
That guy, when Myles Garrett hit him with the helmet. Yeah, that was right where my seats were. Like right at the end of the stadium.
I was in the ESPN suite. which was wild in and of itself because all of the hosts and everything everybody's there speculating, freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like football, but like I don't really listen to ESPN and like all of that. So my husband's just sitting there like staring at everybody like we're in the middle of chaos. It was pretty wild.
I distinctly remember because the Browns were winning and we rarely beat the Steelers, obviously. And so the stadium was just rocking because the game's almost over and we're up and we're going to win. And then that happened and it was just like
it's pretty wild.
a hush. And it was like, of course, we finally beat the Steelers, but this happens at the end of
the Steelers games are always like the most intense afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I'm walking out, like it doesn't matter who won. Like it feels intense either way. Like if the Browns win, then I would be scared to be a Steelers fan in Cleveland. But there's plenty of them. They come. So, all right, next question. Go-to coffee order.
Recently, I've just decided I'm an Americano person.
Just black.
Just black Americano. I came to coffee late in life. It's definitely an anti-coffee person in college. I feel like I was in college early 2000s, and that became like the thing to do is go get coffee. And I've always been like, when everybody wants to do something, usually I'm just against it because I don't want to be part of that crowd. And so I was very late to coffee because of simply everybody wanting to do a coffee thing and then be snobby about coffee and then tell me what kind of coffee order they had. And, and then I got older and I couldn't wake up. So then I needed coffee to function. And
I didn't like coffee till I had kids. Literally, like that's really when it switched. First baby, started drinking coffee like crazy.
Yeah. Well, and then the thing with coffee for me was I didn't want to drink it like all fancy. It's like I want to drink black coffee. Like I didn't want to have a persona of that. So then I just like hated coffee, but drank it just to get my tolerance up. But yeah, this is like, probably 5 years ago I started drinking coffee. I used to just drink like Red Bull in the morning, and then like my kidneys started hurting, and yeah, so
that's like the Alanis or what's the other one of this younger generations? Like they just drink them like they're going out of style.
What?
Alanis.
What's
instead
Alani?
of red? Oh, you don't know what an Alani is?
I thought that was a Disney movie.
Or Celsius.
Oh, okay, I know that.
It's like
Alani sounds like a Disney movie or something like that.
Like no, like Aladdin, Alani. No.
What's the one in Hawaii? Moana and Aladdin. It's just that's an Awani. Is that what we had? Yeah.
Okay, what's one word you would use to describe working in a family-run business? One word. Fast, quick. You're scared to say it. I can tell.
I don't know. There's just no word that it fully encapsulates it. To be corny, it's what's the word? Wow, I'm really pausing on this. I love it. I don't know what the right word for it is. It's really great. That's a terrible term.
Great.
But
that's not what I was expecting.
yeah, it's if you're able to compartmentalize everything in your life and take it as one, working in a family business with your sister and your father is special. Maybe that's the word. Special. In a lot of ways. Because, I always say working in a family business or working with your friends, when the times are good, they're exponentially better. But when the times are bad, it's sometimes exponentially harder because disappointing each other, making poor decisions, having a differing opinion on the direction of things, and then, closing the laptop and going and swim at their house. You don't do that with a regular job. You get to go home and complain or, go to the gym or do whatever you want to do and then come back the next day. And for a family business where we then live life together. And so it's special. And more times than not, it's special in a good way. But it is hard some days to have dividing lines and also then spouses involved and making sure they're not poisoned against another spouse or another family member because, they're your sounding board when you come home. It's, yeah, it's good.
Special, but challenging.
Special. Every time, every way, in every way it's special, I think. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I know it's really hard a lot of times for businesses, family businesses, to thrive to the next generation. And a lot of times it's on the founder to be able to relinquish control and trust. And I've been really lucky. My father's has trusted us over time and is still involved, but has allowed us to fail a little bit and succeed and give us leash and not try to pull things back if they don't immediately work. And so, yeah, it's definitely
That kind of leads us into the next topic, which is how did you get involved with, like, how did you get into the business with your dad?
So, my father started it in the late 90s when I was in high school. I was always like the joking intern, even in high school. I worked at Acres of Fun, but when I wasn't working at Acres of Fun, I went to work. So my dad would never let me sleep in. So the days that I wasn't working at Acres of Fun, I was in the office. And that was in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. So that's like mailroom stuff. Mm-hmm. We had a file closet. I was three-hole punching things and putting them and organizing them and taking out trash. And so I always kind of worked in the industry. I never wanted to professionally. It wasn't my desire in college. But I graduated in 2008 with a finance degree, which is the worst time ever to graduate with a finance degree. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple options. I had a friend that got a job with the Colorado Rockies and in their ticket sales. I thought, I could do sales and maybe I like sports. And I was single. So I thought, well, maybe this is the time for an adventure. And I don't know, for some reason it just didn't feel right, didn't apply, and moved home. Moved into my parents' basement and kind of was, my dad said, hey, you can work for me, and until you figure it out. And I thought I'd do that for a little while. And I would say like a month later, I went to church and I met my wife. And her family is from this area. And I was not going to be able to move her away from her family. And so at that stage, I kind of thought, well, maybe I could do this mortgage thing for a full-time job and took it more seriously. It wasn't just the owner's kid who, went and got coffee and lunch and helped out a little bit, and really had to learn how to do it. Mm-hmm. And, that's 17 years ago.
How long did you and Maria date? How long did you go from first date to married?
Less than a year, less than a year first date to married. I think I met her in December, and our first date was February, but we hung out a bunch. It was like
you were talking.
It wasn't even that. It was like, so not to get too deep into it, but like there was a big thing about, she's going to kill me. Dating Jesus. That was a big thing around women around that time. So like she got out of a long-term relationship. I got out of a long-term relationship. So we met each other like we're not going to get in a relationship. But then we figured out how to spend time together every day, basically for about 3 months with other people to make it like we weren't in a relationship or dating. So there was like I don't want to say courtship, but like we knew we liked each other, but we were both like not going to be the first person stubbornly to give in. And I invited her to my mom's birthday party. It's just February 25th. And then we got married the next January 16th. And we got engaged in September. It was, once we got over it, like the idea of we're back into a relationship, we both kind of were thinking we weren't going to be in one. And then I think at that age, when you're like 23, 24, like I would say that generation, I think it's different. But for my generation, 23, 24, we both had jobs. We kind of really quickly like, are you weird? Is there anything really weird about you? Like, no. What do you want to do? That aligned. Like, is your family going to be a problem? That aligned. And so, yeah, we pretty quickly were like
23, 24 then is like 30 to 35 now.
I feel like it does change generationally. Yeah. Like it was, but I also went to a Christian university that was Liberty University, that they had this saying, like, you have to have a ring by spring. So there was like an internal pressure to be like, once you get your bachelor's degree, you have to have your wife. And once you have your wife, then you can get your job, and then you've made it. You're now an adult. And so there sadly was a lot of divorce that came out of that, because I think a lot of people were like, you want to do it? Okay. Well, to get our diploma, we got to get engaged. And I think there's just this pressure. And when I graduated without being single, I was in a long-term relationship, but graduated single and thought, well, maybe I'll never get married. And I was like 24. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get married. What am I going to do? And now I feel like the generation is like 24. How would you get, how would that even happen? Like, there was just 25 seemed like that line for us. You know what I mean? Like over 25 is like, oh, maybe you'll just be single forever. And I think definitely this generation's different, but yeah, we met and we were very quickly together, and she asked me to marry her, and I said
what?
yes. Well, that was the joke that we had. She's going to kill me again. But she kind of presented the idea of getting engaged from like a logical standpoint to me, because we were helping our friends plant a church and we were moving to another city.
Sounds like she's really good at sales.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was funny how it all played out, because we were going to help a friend plant a church in Columbus, and you know, we obviously weren't going to live together, but we knew we were going to get married, and we were moving in January. And so I would say like in August, she was like, you know, I was talking to my mom, and you know, if we were to get engaged, you know, pretty soon, like we could still do like a full wedding before we moved. Like 3 months isn't too long to plan or too short to plan a wedding. Like we could get it all figured out. And I just like, and I don't think she knew what she was saying. I think she kind of did, but I kind of just was like, did you just ask me to marry you? And she, oh no, whatever. And I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was leaving to go out of town for work that next day or that next weekend. And she called me Saturday morning. She says, so I'm at this jewelry store with my mom, and I really found a ring that I like. And I remember us talking about a budget, and it's in that budget. If I put $100 down, would you come look at it with me on Monday when you get back? And I was like, so you're going to ask me to marry you and pick your ring out? So that's actually what happened. And so she bought her first ring too, because
Her first ring? She's gotten more than one.
well, then she hated it.
Oh.
She we got the wedding ring, got married, and I think she felt like remorse, like I didn't pick one out. She was like, oh, I'm so mad that I bought this. I love it, but you know, I feel like I took that away from you. And then probably about 5 years ago, we bought another one that is more, I picked it out, so I think she likes it more. But we still have the other one. So she asked to marry me, and also picked out her own ring.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Very progressive. When did you transition into leadership at CCM?
So within our organization, I would say 2013. We had transitioned to a company, a parent company called Primary Residential Mortgage. And at that stage, my father, he didn't really present it to me, kind of just started giving me more tasks. And a lot of the business that we've gotten over the years is through different financial advisor groups nationally. And we would present, train, educate at their national meetings. And so my father for years did that. And then he started bringing me along, and then he would introduce me, or I would introduce him, or I would do, you know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes of it, a small portion. And then we would do it together, where I would be up there with him, and we would kind of, you know, 2-man game the presentation. And then he started doing it where he would just present me. He would come up and say, hey, my son's going to give you the talk, blah, blah, blah. And so over time, it just kind of shifted from, you know, me helping him to us being, you know, up there together, to him more or less introducing me, and then him not.
There was no conscious talk with you?
There
Like
was
he
no
was never
conscious-
like, Matt, I'm going to start doing. He had like a plan and he put it in place and you didn't even know.
You'd have to ask him. I don't know if he had like a plan, but that's what we did. And there was never a sit down like, hey, man, I want you to take over this. I want you to do this and that and the other. It was that I almost think he allowed it as I got more comfortable presenting, more comfortable leading, and yeah, starting 2013, more and more and more, and then I would say really about 2019, I became more of the dominant personality as far as leadership in the company and the business. Meaning my opinions weighed a little bit more. We have a really good collaborative system. It's one of those things like we never sat down and talked about it, but intrinsically I trust my sister's opinion. I trust my dad's opinion. If I really want to do something and they're like, no, then we don't do it. There's no, article written of how that is, but also if I want to do it, my dad wants to do it, and my sister is vehemently against it, odds are we're not going to do it either. And so I think we just have a high level of respect for each other's opinion. And we very rarely have disagreements over direction of the company. We may have more personality difference with staff and how to handle that. But I think that's normal because that comes down to just who we are individually. But direction of the company it's never been an issue. And he's pretty much since 2000, I'd say 2019, now he's in his late 60s. He's more or less semi-retired. And so he's more of a mentor, somebody to bounce ideas off of, watches our finances, but less active in the day-to-day.
He watches your finances really well.
Well, he loves it. The anecdote I always say is my father pays his credit card off probably 3 or 4 times a week. And so I've explained how credit cards work to him for years, that he has 30 days and the interest won't accrue until you meet but he will not. And as soon as somebody puts something on our
those
company,
miles, baby.
Him and my mom go to Florida for about 3 weeks every fall on all the points he accumulates. But he will
so
never
when
pay.
do the points transfer in the leadership?
I think he's going to die. I don't think he's ever going to give up the
never
points.
giving up the
No.
points.
Because he loves, he just loves that side. He's really good at it, but he's very
I'm going to take that. I'm going to adopt that practice. Nobody's getting the points.
He will not pay a penny of interest insofar as like he overpays his credit card sometimes. Like, I put too much on it. They'll give me a credit back. Like, he's just a hawk about it. So it's good to have that because not that I don't like that side of things. I'd rather focus on other areas. So it's really nice that he kind of manages all that stuff.
So what is it like growing a team where many of them are family? So not only your family, but they're actually related to each other. So you like have couples who work for you and sisters and.
Yeah. I have a husband and wife. I have sisters. I have a mother-in-law of one of my employees. My RA from college works with me.
Who is that? I don't
His
even
name
know.
is Tim. He works from
Oh,
home.
Tim.
Yeah.
What, haven't I met Tim? Didn't he make me a cappuccino?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's worked with me for 10 years.
He was your RA in college at Liberty.
My freshman year.
You got him to come to Worcester.
Yes.
Where is he from?
Defiance. So he's from Ohio.
Oh, okay.
But he was a teacher for a lot of years and kind of got sick of it. And we maintained a friendship and hired him. I mean, it's my favorite thing in the world, right or wrong, to hire my friends. Than people I know.
You like working with you.
Yeah, it's the, we do the, the old idea of like, do you want to go on vacation with this person? Like if you couldn't spend 7 days at a beach with them, how are you going to work 5 days a week with them? And so sometimes that is really great. You find people like Brandon, who's worked with me for a million years, and Cassie and Ashley, and worked with me for 15 years now. And it's been great. And sometimes that doesn't always end well. And it hurts more when it doesn't work well, when it's somebody you know. But I would still rather do that and have I don't want to say an emotional tie, but like a real tie to the people I work with. It's hard. And like I said earlier, like when it's great, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just working at the most fun thing you've ever done. But when it's hard because, we all root for each other. But then when we all have our personal finances wrapped up in this, at the end, I have to look out for my wife and kids and my father and my sister. And then how do you make a decision about that with also one of your best friends? and then somebody's worked for you and her husband worked there, and navigating those tougher times, like the last 2 or 3 years, it's been hard. I won't sugarcoat it, but um, I'd still do it. I don't think there was an easy way through what we've been through with these high rates and inflation. I don't think there was anybody in our industry just like kicking back and saying this was a breeze. But
Who better to go through it with than the people that you've had around you?
exactly, and you never know, like, from where like loyalty is born. And I have staff members and people in branches that I hired sight unseen, like they weren't family members or, from somebody else's recommendation, and it's really worked out, and surprisingly. And then there's people that I thought would be a longer term relationship together, and it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. And there's 1,000, just 10,000 leadership books and hiring books, and there's how to hire better. I don't know. I don't know if there's a science to it. I know what I like, and it's worked out more than it hasn't. So I'm probably going to stick to that. But I just don't want to go to a company that I run that is just an Excel spreadsheet of pluses and minuses, and the minuses go and the pluses stay. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of investing in people and seeing them grow. And the vast majority of our loan officers, our best salespeople, didn't come from Carnegie Mellon or Cornell or some top sales school. They were people in the Army and people in unions and teachers and that we trained, that had the right personality and aptitude, but also fit our culture and found a career. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I like to be able to be somebody that helps people find a career.
What is something you wish more people knew about the mortgage industry?
So many things. I think the industry, I wish a lot of people understood the industry as...
It was just a buggy. You just distracted by the buggy.
Sorry, I got buggy in my brain. I think a lot of it is tied to the industry. A lot of years ago went through obviously a big change because of the mortgage crisis. And I think being a quote like mortgage guy, mortgage gal, almost got a negative connotation, like a, I don't say slimy or sleazy, but like a dishonest person. And
well, in a brokerage or a mortgage company that's not a bank, got it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, like what I always say is there are bad people in our industry. There are bad people in every industry. They are far outweighed by the good people. I have great relationships across different companies, different from loan officers to leadership to presidents to board members. Like the vast majority of people I meet in my industry, I love because they understand the grind that we have is a non-recurring income source. So every 30 days we have to churn our pipeline. We have to find new people every day. There are other industries that you get recurring sources of income, and that's great. So it's more about account management and relationships. But our revenue sources come and go within every 30 to 40 days. So you are always looking ahead to the next move, to making sure you have a pipeline that's sustainable. And so that's hard. That means we're always thinking about our business. We are always on. I know a lot of other industries are like that too, but specifically, there's a personality trait that mortgage people have. That's why I like them, because I can see that in me. And maybe they live in California or Texas or Oklahoma or wherever, but when we get together at a conference, we're like friends because we know the grind that we're all going through every day.
What's the personality trait?
Hard exterior, soft interior. A lot of times there's a tough, gruff, things are great, I can do it, entrepreneurial spirit. But then you get to the relationship side of things and you see how people, can struggle with just different aspects of life, but also you get to the honest side of things. I have a friend that's in the industry. I did with a different company. He's flying in Wednesday to go to a Cavs game with me because he's an Knicks fan. And we're going to talk about work and not like how much we're crushing it. We're going to talk about the hard stuff. We're going to go to dinner. And that is going to be so valuable to both of us. And we are competitors. But in those moments we aren't. We're companions almost. And that's what I love about our industry is there are so many people that will help you through. Hey, I went through that problem 5 years ago. That's how I got through it. Hey, I tried to do that and failed. Don't go that route. It really worked for me. This is what I'll tell you would help for me. Like that stuff that nobody sees in our industry is widespread. What they do see a lot of times is mortgage companies fighting each other and suing each other, and leadership barking at each other through LinkedIn and, rumor mills and drama. But the vast majority of the people in the industry are good people. It's just the loudest people a lot of times get the most publicity.
So what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now? We're coming out of super low rates, then the rates spiked. Seems like they're coming back down a little bit. Like, what do you see in the year ahead, 2025? What's the biggest challenge you're looking at?
Last year was actually a really good year for us. And I think a lot of it's twofold. I think society is kind of realizing this is where we're at. When rates go up in so quickly, so high, a lot of people say, well, they're going to come back down. And so they stay on the sidelines. They don't want to buy a house because they think, oh, well, this is a bad time to buy a house. The other thing that happens is, when rates were at their all-time low, our industry became bloated. There was too many salespeople. There's too many operational staff. It wasn't a sustainable model. We were just hiring people to match the volume that we had. And so it takes a while. You hire fast, you fire slow. Like it took a while for our industry to thin out. I think, and then it took a while for society to understand these are where rates are, and maybe they'll get a little lower. But historically speaking, a rate in the sixes is a top 10% rate in the history of our country. It just takes a while for people to realize that. So having said all that, I think it's just, continuing to have our sales staff have the desire to grow and understand that accountability in that growth and having a plan and not just hoping the phone rings is my biggest task every day. And holding them accountable to their dreams. Everybody has a business plan every year and nobody hits it and nobody gets mad about it. Like having realistic goals and keeping people to it is my biggest challenge, because I'm a positive guy. So I don't love, saying, hey, you were going to do this. Why didn't you do this? That's hard for me. A lot of times I'll say, hey, I know you didn't hit that. What can we do to get you there? What can we do to change? And, I'm learning that I need to be more accountable, hold people more accountable. I need to be more accountable to holding people accountable. Does that make sense? And not give myself the out to have a hard conversation.
Well, and you like them. We already covered that. So liking them can sometimes make it a little bit harder to hold them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is and it isn't. Sometimes it makes it easier. I experience that too. I work with my best friend. So like giving her feedback is really hard sometimes. Like, I love you, but then I know too much about your personal life. So maybe I see why you're struggling with this here, and I can make excuses or say.
But also, why not? Why isn't that a good thing? Like, I get that there's laws around knowing what are going on in each other's lives and being nosy and all that stuff. But why isn't that helpful? Because how can that not be helpful? Because if I know that, if I know a staff member is trying to get pregnant and they're not being successful, and how that can bleed into an interpersonal relationship at work, or his or her just positive nature because life outside of the walls aren't helpful. Like, knowing that helps me give grace, but also find ways to care for them wherever they're accepting care. That's valuable. And I think that's important, because a lot of people say, wow, whatever happened to that person? Gosh, they used to be nice and now they're so mean. It's like, generally speaking, people don't just go, I'm going to be a jerk now. Like, I'm through being nice. it's exterior factors that affect them. And the more as a leader and a manager, you can know what you're supposed to know, not get involved like, oh, I tell my husband to not do that. Like, don't get granular with it, but just know that they're going through a period of strife in their life, whether it's their control or out of it, is an opportunity for grace and an opportunity to show them something they haven't received from an employer before. And my goal and my wish in that is that when they are through that time, they recognize it, and then they give grace to a coworker when they're going through it, because they see that somebody supported them through a time when they weren't really themselves. And so I think a lot of us just kind of give up and go, oh, that person's a jerk now, or that person's whatever. And that person's changed now that they got a new job title. And it's like, yeah, they may have got a promotion, but something outside of the workplace may be really affecting them. And that's why their personalities change. So leadership is hard. Mm-hmm. It's fun to kind of solve these puzzles, but it's also really hard to do it and then show other people that you work with what your grand plan is. When a lot of times I think staff think A to B, and you guys say, hey, this is a journey.
So I know you're in business with your family and you respect your dad, you respect your sister, you go home and you talk to your wife maybe, but do you ever feel lonely in that? Because
oh, yeah,
because of the triangle of all of the dynamics involved? Like,
yeah, I'm doing a better job of it, I think. The thing we've talked about, like C12, the group that I'm part of, that is a Christian CEO forum, business owner forum. Being around people like that have been through that or going through that, and it feels less lonely because I have a little bit of an outlet there. It was something early in my marriage that I had to really learn because obviously my wife is my chief cheerleader.
Ride or die.
So if I come home and say, this person is really being a jerk to me, well, the rest of that night, my wife is like, if I see that person at the ball field, like, I'm going to kick dirt on them. And if I continue to do that, I will because I won't share the good stuff. I'll only share the stuff that's frustrating, and she'll form an opinion of something that's incorrect, because I'm not being guarded enough in my explanations and stuff. So yeah, I can, definitely made a lot of mistakes in that and put my wife through emotional roller coasters. And then she'd be like, I don't like that person. I'm like, why? They're pretty great. And she's like, well, the last 7 things you've told me about them is how terrible they are to you. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't talk about the other times they were great. And I'm only just, you're not just this source that I can just, sponge off all my stress and frustration. Yeah. So that's something I learned, is like protecting my spouse and protecting my staff and protecting my family, and understanding like those short-term, like, complaint sessions do a lot more long-term damage if you're not strategic and understanding what you're doing.
Guarding the person that you're talking about is important if you have a view of the long-term goal of that relationship. 100%.
Yeah. If you truly care, if it's, there's a lot of people that make a lot more money than me in every industry that view employees as commodities, and it's, it's a graph, and if you're on this side of the graph, you're good. If you're on that side, you're fired. I'll find somebody else. And that's the way that they're wired, and they're very successful. And I can't speak to that. I'm wired this way. And so turnover is hard, especially living in a small town. If I'm the guy that hires 10 and fires 6 and then hires another 10 and fires 5, I would feel like our community would over time be like, that's not somebody you should go work for, because they don't really truly care. They're just trying to make money for themselves.
Do you have any, I don't even know, do you like leadership books?
Sure.
Question, favorite leadership or business book?
Oh, I'm going to screw up. I'm really good at reading books and not remembering their titles correctly.
Great.
So just Google something around what I'm about to say. What is the 5 dysfunctions of a team? It's a Patrick Lencioni book. Mm-hmm. That's a really good book because it's almost like a novel. It's almost like a fiction book.
That's how they're parables.
Yeah. They're like people. And so I love that. It's not really I don't know if it's a leadership book I would consider it. There's a book called Three Kings. It's really small. And it's the book about the transition of power in the Bible from Saul to David to David's son. I can't think of his name. This is terrible. Never mind. Cut this. But why can't I think of it? I go to church, I promise.
I don't know it either. So
it starts with an A. Absalom.
Absalom.
Yep. Sorry. Let's cut this.
He's
again.
got 2 with an A.
So it's a book called Three Kings. And it's about the relationship or the transition of power from Saul to David to Absalom and how different they all took it. And I just have always liked that because it showed like Saul was this great and powerful leader. And then he became jealous of David because everybody said David is the next king. And insofar as he ran David out of the city, and David lived in the wilderness and had to basically try to survive as people were chasing him around. And then Saul was murdered. And it's a very Old Testament story that cracks me up, even though it's terrible and mean. But the story is that, you know, Saul was killed with Jonathan, which was David's best friend. And there was a messenger that came and said, Saul's dead. And he said, well, how would you know? And he said, well, I came upon him and Jonathan was dead. And Saul had been mortally wounded. So I did the honorable thing, and I ended his life because he was going to die, and he asked me to end his life. So I finished him off, and here's his crown, and here's his sash. And so David goes, oh, I believe you. Now kill that guy. He killed Saul. It's like, wow, that's really crazy. But he held Saul in such respect as a leader, even though that guy tried to kill him for a decade, or I don't know how many years it was, but so many years. When Saul died, you know, this person as a messenger was like, oh my gosh, I got to go give this to David. He's our next king. And David said, well, you're the one that killed Saul. He's like, well, I had to. He asked me to. So then he killed the guy. They had him killed. But then David became in power, but he never lost respect for Saul, even when Saul literally tried to kill him, chased him around. And David became king, and we all know the story of David and how he's a man after God's own heart. And then Absalom comes, and he's like, well, I could do better than that. I know you guys love David, but that's mine. And he was impatient for his chance to be leader. Mm. And you look at the picture of all of that from, I know I'm rambling, but the picture from all of that from Saul, who was this king of this great nation, who was jealous, to David, who was a king that was patient and kind and really devoted to the leadership before him, to Absalom, who never became king because he died. He was impatient and petulant because it was his turn. Mm-hmm. And understanding, like, in a family business, my dad's not dead, but in a family business, having patience and letting the opportunities come to you and just working hard in where you're at, you'll earn it better than like a coup. You may have a coup and take over a business, and you may not physically harm your parents or your other business partners. You will emotionally and maybe even spiritually harm them if you don't have patience and wait for God's timing for things. And so maybe that's what we talked about earlier when we kind of just naturally transitioned the business. Maybe that was me not knowing at the time, but being patient enough to let it happen instead of just saying, I got a good idea. Get out of here, old guy. Yeah. So that book, I don't think it's a leadership book. I just think it's a great story of the transitions of leadership and when God calls you, because how all that stuff happened in the Old Testament was always really grisly. It's just, you know, all those stories of leadership changes were always like, just conquerors. Mm-hmm. It was just, he's the leader because he killed the other leader. And that's why I became leader. And David's picture was, I'm not a theologian, but David's picture was definitely different than most on how he ascended to leadership.
We started watching The House of David on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I didn't know that's a show.
Oh, yeah. We
watched it
right?
with
the family.
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Check me.
It's good.
Check me for accuracy.
Check it out.
I have a finance degree, not a divinity degree. So.
I'm neither do I, and I don't even know how much of the show is actually accurate because there's like some questions around David's mother that I was doing research on. It's actually really good because the kids are watching it with us. It's a TV-14 show because it's violent because there's war and things like that in it, but I think it'll be really good for like to watch it with the kids. And
So I famously at college. So I got a finance degree, so I wasn't going to be a Bible guy. All my friends, roommates, pastors, worship leaders, missionaries. And so I had like a minimum Bible requirement. So I had to take so many classes that were around like spiritual things. And so I signed up for, I forget the name. It was like Old Testament survey. And went to the first day, got the syllabus. They still do syllabuses in college where you get the whole like semester of what you have to do. They gave you the syllabus and like how much you had to read of the Bible. And I went home and complained to my roommate who's there to be a pastor. It was like, this stupid professor wants me to read the Bible every day. Is he crazy? Like, I don't have that time. And he was like, you're supposed to be doing that anyway. What do we need to have a spiritual talk between me and you about where your walk is? And I was like, oh yeah. And it was just like, for then on, it was like, I was the guy who dropped a class because at a Christian school.
Did you drop it?
Yeah, I dropped it. I was the guy that dropped a class at a Christian school because it made me read the Bible too much. And so that's a funny story from all my friends because I unknowingly was just telling everybody how spiritually immature I was as a 20-year-old, saying, this course kind of sucks. Like, I got to read the Bible every day and they're going to quiz me on it. Like, I don't want to do that.
Okay, let's shift a little bit. Okay, do you have a shout out to a local business, charity, or team that you love?
I have many, but I'll do. Can I do two?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, I'm going to say Ohuddle. Ohuddle is a local mentoring nonprofit that focuses on high school and junior high kids, provides them one-on-one mentorship with an adult, a relationship that they may be lacking. We look at Wayne County as this, family county. Like, it's the family is still important in the county, and you think, well, there's not a lot of kids at risk, and there's several hundred, over 500 kids that are in one-on-one mentorship, and there's hundreds that are waiting for mentors. I've been mentoring it's my third year, and just a one-on-one. I meet once a week at high school with my buddy, and he's a junior now, and we just kind of hang out, talk. We play Uno. We talk about girls. We talk about school. We talk about college. It's just a relationship, and these kids I've seen. Specifically, my student, when we first started talking as a freshman, he was ineligible for sports. He missed too many days. This year, as a junior, was the captain of the wrestling team. He was student of the month for the whole school. He's now got his GPA up to being able to go to college. And I'm not saying it was because of me in the least bit, but that relationship that we have is a friendship now. And there's kids that need that. And I jokingly say every time I talk about Ohuddle, the thing I always say is every single thing they do make our community better. Every single thing, because it's about kids having chances and those kids having an opportunity to have a life and mentorship and goals that, they're just not afforded to maybe, is going to make our next generation of our community better and the next generation better. And so I got all the time in the world to talk about Ohuddle. Sarah, who runs it, is just a special person to build this and dream this and have it for our community. I talk about it all the time out of state, and people go, what do you have? What is this? Oh, wish we could do that here. And it was only because of her building it, and it's amazing. So the second one, it's called Forget Me Not Baskets. Forget Me Not Baskets help people who have gone through the trauma of miscarriage with a lot of dignity. So they have like these baskets that they'll bring to the hospital if they have to do a procedure, or they'll send them to your house. And they just have little things, and the elephant is, I think their logo is because elephants don't forget, and they do this big 10K or 5K every year that thousands of people do to support the ministry, and it's a nonprofit. They make all their money, and it's two women that run this huge nonprofit that has 80 hospitals that they supply these baskets to. And for us, it's important to be involved in the charities and the things of our employees. And I've had multiple employees that have gone through those tragic events, and forget-me-not baskets help them manage the trauma, the emotions, get through all of that. And when I saw that when I saw that work specifically through an employee of ours, we knew we needed to support them in a greater way. And actually that employee is like our head of that group. Like, she fell in love with it so much that she is kind of our liaison to that group. So when they need something, they go through that employee. We give her 1 day a month to go volunteer paid, because literally, like, they'll put those baskets together. It's just a big open room and people are just building them at a time. And as soon as they get donations, they buy more and build more. And so, it's one of those things that I think, most people don't understand unless you've gone through it. But then if you've ever gone through it and you find that there's a ministry, there's a nonprofit that will, that has thought through something that tragic and provided a resource, it's like, it blows their mind. And so those are the two charities that I think every single dollar and I know every single dollar they get, but every single thing that they do are just helping people either get through trauma or, mature and get to a better place in life. And, I think I just sell mortgages. I feel a little greasy sometimes doing what I do when they have this great mission and I'm just helping people buy houses and whatever. And we're letting money.
People, accomplish their dreams. Yeah. No big deal.
But, for profit and all this stuff. But I see these people that are like literally like put their life into a cause like that. It's just however I can, we support them monetarily. We support them physically. We do their events. And if ever I can shout them out on social media or in a podcast, that's, I'm going to do it, because those are the two companies that we just, they're just so endearing to us.
I am sure they appreciate it as well. All right, Matt, tell us, where can people follow you or connect with CCM?
Oh,
I'll tell them.
Yeah, you're better at this.
Follow the Shanlian team on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got to get better at the social media thing. It's funny. I'm on it. From a marketing standpoint, I have a lot of fun on social media, personality wise, personally, I should say. But yeah, you guys are helping me a lot to build a more
really
professional
fun,
profile.
Well, we have a sassy reel that's getting posted this month. All right.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah. Our team already had a good time with it.
I feel like I had a couple of them in today when we recorded too. So,
okay. Well, thank you for being with us today and helping us see a little bit more behind the doors of CCM. And Matt, and you. You're very authentic every time we talk. So we appreciate it.
Want to have like a signature close?
We'll have an outro.
Extinguishing our torch.